तद्वरं पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयाते ॐ योग महर्षि डॉक्टर स्वामी गीतानंद गिरि गुरु महाराज की जय. We have been looking at the concept of the stress reaction and the relaxation response. The stress reaction is coming from a very primitive part of our own nature, something that has been around for billions of years. The primitive reptilian, mammalian, subhuman tendencies that are our samskaras and vasanas. These memories that are carried from lifetime to lifetime. It is said, physically, materialistically, you cannot take anything from one lifetime to another. You come with empty hands and you go with empty hands. But the samskaras, and these samskaras and vasanas, they are the root that manifest the kleshas, and through the kleshas, the karma. So the linkage of the samskara, vasana, klesha and karma is the cycle that keeps on pushing us back onto this planet again and again and again and again and again and again, until at some point we learn our lesson and we get off it. This is why Maharishi Patanjali tells us, Dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha, and Thiruvalluvar tells us, Pirappennum pedamai, the ignorance and the folly of being born again and again. Lord Gautama Buddha also says the same thing. Everything is suffering. And no wonder the great Siddhas of Tamil Nadu, they sang to Lord Shiva, may I not be born again. Asking that, give me the boon, the blessing that I will not be born again. That is the message that has been there. Because according to the Yoga Vashishta, the Adija Vyadi, the diseases that come because of the Adi, which are the disconnection we have between ourselves and the universe, that sense of duality between us and the universe, which is the seed of disease, Adija Vyadi. Vashishta tells Rama that the root, the essential one, which is called Sara Adija Vyadi, is to be born again and again. And he says the only way you can come out of that is through Atma Jnana. Atma Jnana, self-realization, is the only way one can come out of that cycle of being born again and again and again and again. Which is why the Guru is offered our namaskaram, our prostration, our deep gratitude, because the Guru is the one, Atma Jnana Pradhanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, the one who gives us the Atma Jnana. Not theoretical information, not technical information, not knowledge of techniques. That is not a Guru. There are a lot of people who can do that. The Guru is one who enables us to realize ourselves. As long as we are on this planet, all these samskara, vasanas, tendencies that are part and parcel of us, they are triggering off that survival instinct. And yesterday, I was noticing this in many people who should know better, should be better. And you wonder that someone who has gone through so much struggle in life to come where they are, come out of their surrounding, and you would think that with education and with responsibility coming up, they would change. And then you find them falling back into those old samskara vasana patterns. And I was reminded of a story about a rishi who had a pet mouse. And this pet mouse, small mouse was there. He said, why not I, with my yogic powers, make it a young baby girl, and then I can have a baby to take care of. So he converts this little mouse into a baby girl, and this baby girl grows up and he takes care of her, and they have wonderful memories and wonderful times as she grows up. And then she comes to the marriageable age, and like all Indian parents, the moment your daughter is at an age to be married, you start looking for a bridegroom, because that's part of your responsibility in Indian culture. So he takes the girl who was originally the mouse, and he says, I'm going to go, come with me. We'll go and find out who is the best suitor for you, who is the best husband for you. So they go to the sun, Surya, and he says, what about the sun? She says, he's too hot. I don't think it will work out. I need somebody who is better than the sun. So then they ask the sun, who's better than you? The sun says, the clouds are better than me because the clouds can block out the sunlight. So they go and meet Mr. Cloud, Mr. Megha, and the Rishi asks his daughter, what about this guy? She says, unsuitable, he is too dark and too cold and always wet. So they ask the cloud, they say, who's better than you? He says, the wind is better than me because the wind blows me wherever it wants. So they go to the wind, and the Rishi asks his girl again, what do you think about Mr. Wind, Mr. Vayu? She says, this guy is so unstable, always going from here to there and everywhere. So they ask the wind, who is stronger than you, who is better than you? He says, the mountain, because Mr. Meru, the mountain, he never moves. I cannot move him, how much ever I try. So they go to Mr. Mountain, and the Rishi asks his daughter, what about Mr. Mountain? She says, he is so hard and cold and always in the same place. Not exciting enough. So they ask the mountain, who's better than you? The mountain says, there's this Mr. Rat, Mr. Mouse, who drills holes into me, and I cannot stop him. He keeps on making holes all around my mountain. So go and meet him. And when they meet Mr. Mouse, the girl is so happy. She says, that's the guy I want to marry. I love this story. I love this story because it's very difficult to change the samskara vasana patterns. A mouse has certain samskara vasana patterns, and how much ever you try to change it, a mouse is going to be a mouse. And it's a bit of a struggle because, we want people to transform, and thousands of kids, I have seen Ammaji and Swamaji work with them, and despite all the efforts, so many of them just dive back into those habitual patterns of samskara and vasana because it is so much easier. It is the easy, more pleasant choice. It is the Preya Marga that Yamaraja tells Nachiketa. He says, be careful, there are two paths. Shreya Marga, the noble path, and Preya Marga, the pleasant path. And it's so much easier, so much pleasant to go downhill than try to go uphill. When we are dealing with the stress, we are dealing with our samskara and vasana patterns. That is why the so-called modern stress management techniques are so superficial. Because you are not going to the root of the problem at all. And if you do not do a root source analysis and you do not deal with the root cause, it's always going to be symptomatic management. And if you're doing that symptomatic management using yoga, it's yogopathy, it is not yoga chikitsa. Unless you trace the root. And that is why Patanjali was so clear. Heya hetu hana upaya. And we need to understand what is that hetu. And Patanjali himself tells us, tasya hetu avidya. Avidya is the root cause. And what is avidya? The confused state of knowing. People think ignorance is not knowing. Patanjali says it's not knowing. It's the confused knowing where you think you know it, but you don't know it. हिंदी में बोलते पढ़ा लिखा अनपढ़, पढ़ा लिखा अनपढ़ बोलते, படிச்ச முண்டம் தமிழ்ல சொல்ல போனா. People who have been educated but educated idiots. And the educated idiot is what that term means. And so they think I have a degree, and so they think they know it. It's like the people who do a 100-hour, 200-hour teachers training course in yoga and think they know all yoga. Swamiji would say, ignorance is bliss. Isn't it wonderful? He used to say, ignorance is wonderful. Not that you don't know, but you think you know, and you don't know. So you don't know that you don't know, and you think you know that you know. This is why the real wise person, the first thing is they know they don't know. When you know that you don't know something, you can learn it. But if you think you already know it, how can you learn anything? When we want to deal with the stress response reaction, and we want to educe from within the relaxation response, Swamiji had suggested how we have to let down, give in, give over, give in and give over. You know, these concepts of taking the attitude from within, it is a bhava. A bhava is an attitude, an emotional attitude. And in yoga, we have the concept of nishpanda bhava, a relaxed attitude. And a relaxed attitude doesn't mean not doing. You're doing, but you're doing it in a state of relaxation. You're living, but not stressed out, not tensed out. A relaxed state of living. You have decided to take a step back. Nishpanda. The word shpanda meaning tension, nishpanda meaning the absence of tension, the relaxation. And this is why in yoga we have the concept of shpanda nishpanda. Shpanda is the tension. Nishpanda is the lack of tension. So tension, relaxation, activation, deactivation, which goes in tune with our autonomic nervous system, which is sympathetic, parasympathetic. The push and the let go. Do your best, leave the rest. Abhyasa, vairagya. Accelerator, brake. Shpanda, nishpanda coupling. And this is why we often find that if you want to relax and you have not done anything that whole day, it is tough to relax. But if you have worked hard that day, you will go into deep relaxation. This is why the relaxation component in a yoga session should always be towards the end, after you have made some effort. You have to first earn your relaxation. You have to have yogyata, be worthy of the relaxation. And this is why the shpanda has to come before nishpanda. The effort has to come before relaxation. You don't relax and then make the effort. The effort is the first part. The relaxation is the second. Shpanda, nishpanda coupling. Which is why when we do the asana practices, you should do the right side followed by the left side. Because when you do right, you are creating the activatory energy. The left is the deactivation. So right followed by left is activation followed by deactivation that enables you to then relax in a nishpanda bhava. There's actually an asana that where you just stretch your legs out, you place your hands behind, and you just let your head be back, and they call it the nishpanda bhava asana. Just a laid back attitude. But then people think all I have to do is lay back all the time. It's not being laid back all the time. You have to first do something and then you earn the right to be laid back. Letting go can only come after you have first earned something. The nishpanda bhava. And this is why it is so important that the shpanda precedes the nishpanda. Shpanda nishpanda is the way it has to always be. There has to be that effort followed by relaxation. And that is why you have to first do something. There has to be the ha before the ta. The ha is the activation, the solar energy. Ha, 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 ha. It is the solar energy that comes from here, right from the Nabi, which is the sun center, the solar plexus connecting us to the universe. Ha 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 ha. This is where that has to come from. This is the ta. The moon is the ta. Chandrama manaso jataha, as the Purusha Suktam reminds us. The mind and the moon, they are connected. And what is the nervous system? The brain and the nervous system, they are the receiver, the tool to receive the signals of the mind. The mind is not in the head, for sure. The mind is not in the head, for sure. Just as I am not in your phone or your laptop, for sure. But through your phone or laptop, you are able to see me, hear me, and hopefully perceive something I am trying to say today, something I am trying to share today. So the nervous system, the brain, is only the tool through which we are able to receive the signals of the mind. This is why there are two very important pranavayus. And Swamiji tells us about this. He says the Akasha pranavayu and the Chitra pranavayu. Now normally when people talk of pranavayu, they talk of prana, apana, samana, udana, vyana. These are the five energies which are the prana vayus, which enable our biological functions to manifest. They are the energy sources for the biological function. And then you have the reflexive, protective mechanisms, which are the Upaprana-vayu. Naga, Kurma, Krikara, Devadatta, Dhananjaya. These five are called the Upaprana-vayu, and they are the protective reflexes that are there. But other than these 10 Dasavayu that people normally talk about, Swamiji talks of two more. He calls them the Parapranavayu. They are the higher energy flows. A pranavayu is an energy flow. So the energy flows, you have the five major flows which enable biological functioning to happen. Respiration is happening thanks to the prana, elimination due to the apana, circulation due to the vyana, communication by the udana, and the digestive process by the samana. These are the biological functions energized by the pranic flows. Similarly, naga, kurma, the sneezing, the belching, the eyes blinking, all of that comes. But then there are the last two, the parapranavayu, and that is why in Swamiji's teaching, dwadasha pranavayus are there, 12 are there, not 10. And you have the chitra pranavayu and the akasha pranavayu. The chitra pranavayu is, chitra means a drawing, a painting. Chitra kala is the art of painting. What is this chitra kala? What is this chitra pranavayu? It is the energy that enables a neurological signal to become a thought. A neurological signal to become a thought. So you are making dots. Those dots are creating a work of art. The physical painting, the paint is being put, the brush is moving around, and the physical act of all of this is creating a work of art, a chitra. So the physiological, neurological signals, the neuronal firing, the electric potential, the activation potential, the electric charges of the neurons, they are upgraded to a thought. The physiological activity is upgraded to a thought. That is done by an energy. To upgrade it, you need an energy. It is like you have something on your computer, you want to upload it to the internet. You need a connection for that. You need some energy for that. You need some data for that. You need a data pack. That is what the Chitra Pranavayu is. It enables a physical, physiological, neurochemical reaction to become a thought. Where is this neurological reaction happening? Basically, your Annamaya and Pranamaya Kosha. Annamaya, Pranamaya Kosha is where all of this is happening. There is a neuron, the neuron is firing, it is Annamaya, Pranamaya functioning. How does it go up to the Manomaya? It requires a step-up transformer. In electricity, we have step-up transformer, step-down transformer. The step up transformer that is there is the Chitta Pranavayu. It is the energy that enables a physical reaction to become a thought. And so certain parts of your brain, they fire, and so you have a certain thought. This is what is understood by neurobiologists. So they say, oh, all thoughts are just, chemical reactions in the brain. The chemical reaction is causing a thought. That is due to the Chitta Pranavayu. But then they forget that there is something else. What is the something else? There is Akasha Pranavayu. Akasha Pranavayu, what it does? What is Akasha? Space, ether, thin air. What is ether? Thin air. Suddenly a thought comes to you from nowhere. You sort of pluck a thought out of thin air. How does that happen? How does that thought get plucked and brought into you? That is the energy that is being used as the Akasha Pranavayu. It is the step down transformer. Chitta Pranavayu is the step up transformer energy where a biological activity becomes a thought. So the biological, from Annamaya, Pranamaya to the Manomaya, you need to upgrade it. You need an energy for that step up to occur. That is the Chitta Pranavayu. And Akasha Pranavayu is from the Anandamaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha level, which is the universal. You are bringing a thought down into your Manomaya Kosha level. From the thin air, out of the universe, a thought is coming down. When it comes into the Manomaya Kosha level, it is a thought. And because of that, it comes into the Pranamaya and Annamaya, and suddenly you have a chemical reaction. The neurochemical reaction that is now happening in your brain is not the cause of the thought, but is the effect of the thought. So in the first place, there was a neurochemical reaction which was the cause that then created a thought, and then there's a thought that creates a chemical reaction. And this happens so fast that neurobiologists think that everything is because it's a chemical reaction, because you can only see it one way. The other way, it happens so fast. We are talking of speeds that are so much faster than the speed of light itself. And so we cannot understand which came first. The yogis say, when you get a thought out of the universe, a thought just comes out of thin air and it becomes yours. This is where you tune into what is called Prajna Loka. You connect to the universe and it's getting downloaded. So to upload from your system to the internet, you need certain energy. From the internet to your computer, you need another type of energy. The uploading and the downloading. Your uploading is the Chitta Pranavayu. The downloading is the Akasha Pranavayu. Two very, very important Para Pranavayus, the higher Pranavayus that are there. Nobody talks about this. Swamiji is the only one who talks about it. And for the simple reason that nobody understands that this requires energy. They think just digestion needs energy and respiration needs energy. What about your thought process? Who's going to energize it? Not the government, okay? That is why the pranayama sadhana is so important, because in the higher pranayamas, when you do the jnana yoga kriyas, the jnana yoga prakriyas, anuloma viloma and the aluloma viloma in the yoga nidra, when you are going into those, you are starting to work with these parapranas. That is where pranayama sadhana becomes a sadhana of the higher mind. That is why Patanjali tells us, dharana sucha yogyata manasaha. Your mind needs to be fit for all of that, and for that you need pranayama. Because otherwise there's no energy. All your energy is going just towards sustaining and maintaining what is happening. Nothing for the higher life. So important that higher life has to be sustained. So one of the practices that we can do is the Spanda Nishpanda Kriya, which is often termed the instant relaxation technique. And what we do here is that we tense up the whole body. That is the Spanda component. The Spanda component is the tensing the whole body, and then you let go. So what we do is that we start tensing from the feet. So you could do this lying down preferably. You could do it sitting. In standing, there's a danger that you may fall down. Then what you do is that you have right from your feet, you start tensing from the toes. So the toes are tensed, the foot is tensed, the ankle is tensed. Then you bring it into your calf. So the calf muscles are tensed, the knees are tensed, the thighs are tense. So what you are doing is that you are coming from the extremity, which is the lower part of the body. From the toes, you are coming and you are bringing this tension. So here, the Spanda is tensing up the toes. Okay? So you are tensing up your toes, tensing up the ankles, tensing up the lower leg, tensing the knees, tensing the thighs. Then you start to tense the whole pelvic region. Externally, internally, the hip joint, the pelvic region. Then the abdomen, lower, middle, upper abdomen, then the lower, middle, upper chest, then the lower back, middle back, upper back, shoulder. Then you start tensing your hands. So the fingers you tense, clench them, the wrist, the forearm, the elbow, the arm, the shoulder, the neck. And now your whole body below your neck is tense. And then you start tensing up your face. You tense up the mouth, you tense up the eyes. You really hold that tension. You take that tension and hold it. And then with a deep in breath you take. And then you blast it all out. And with this whooshing sound, you are letting go of all that tension. So what you are doing is that very consciously, you are tensing up the whole body from the toes up to the lower part of the body, the abdomen, the chest, the lower back, upper back, the hands up to the shoulder, the neck, the whole face. You are tensing up as much as possible. So here there is that peak of tension that you have brought on, Spanda. And then you are letting it all go consciously, Nishpanda. And this letting go is the process by which you are saying, I don't want it, and you are saying, let go. This is the process by which what is called instant relaxation occurs. What you have done is that you have very consciously created tension and then decided to let go. So before letting go, you have to first create it. You remember I said effort has to precede relaxation. So when you do the Spanda Nishpanda, what is actually happening is that you are learning that at that peak of tension which comes, all you have to do is let go. And when you let go, what you are doing is that you are moving into what is called the Nishpanda Bhava, the attitude, an emotional attitude of letting go. You have let go. This is holding on. And you should be shaking with the tension. At the peak of the tension, you're shaking with it. And then you're consciously saying, I don't want this, let go. Spanda Nishpanda. This coupling of the Spanda Nishpanda, the working of it consciously. You are dealing with the stress consciously. You're saying, yes, there is stress. I am aware of it. And now I have the power to let go and relax. You are starting to learn how to relax when the stress is there. And that is why the Spanda Nishpanda is an excellent practice for us to be doing any time of the day. You could do it in the morning, you could do it in the afternoon, the evening, you could do it at home, you could do it in the yoga session, you could do it in your office. You have a lot of tension, well, go through a few rounds of this and just let go. 3 rounds of this Spanda Nishpanda in your office, it takes you what? 30 seconds to hold tight, another 30 seconds to let go. If you want to relax, another 30 seconds, 90 seconds. 90 seconds into 3, at the most, 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, you have been able to say that in the peak of the tension, I have the power of the choice to relax and let go. You are restoring to yourself the power of choice to say, I want to relax rather than hold on to the tension. This is a very conscious decision we are making when we do these practices. We'll continue with this tomorrow. But I just wanted to remind you that the choice to relax is ours. We have to make the choice to let go. Because holding on is instinctive. If you look at any animal, whenever you take any animal, what you will see is that if there's a stick, they'll hold on to the stick. You see any insect, you go to the insects. put a stick next to that insect. Whenever there's an insect inside and I want to let it out, I take that stick and put it next to that insect. That insect will cling on to that stick. You then take it out and you tap it and let it out into the garden or wherever you want, onto a plant or whatever. What the instinct is to hold on. That is why when the newborn baby, when we put the finger inside the palm, it grasps. Grasping on, holding on is instinctive. Grasping on is instinctive. Letting go is intuitive. The reactionary thing is hold on tight. Oh my God, my life depends on it. Don't let go. And then up here he says, this is not something to hold on. This is suffering. Let go. That is why Dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. Up here, when viveka comes, you realize you're holding on to suffering. My suffering. It's like the person who's put the hand into the electrical socket and is getting electrocuted. You don't hold on to it. You have to let go. Most people are holding on to that electrical, that the very thing that is causing them the problem, they're holding on to it tight. If something is hot and you're getting burnt, let go, for God's sake. We hold on to the suffering. This is the martyr complex we all have. The martyr complex. Don't hold on to suffering, let go. Dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. That is why that process of letting go can only come from the higher consciousness. Holding on is the lower subconscious, unconscious response or reaction. The lower subconscious, unconscious says, hold on. The conscious says, this is suffering, let go. And that is why the capacity to let go is where the relaxation response can be brought into place. Have a wonderful day. If there are any stresses, let go of them. Don't hold on to them. Don't hold on to the thorns in your life, okay? Don't hold on to the suffering in your life. Let go and, okay? Have a nice day.